This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com with a daily combat sports news update. Smackdown was up slightly for last night's episode. It did a 0.55 rating. The big story out of Smackdown was they did an arrest angle with Jeff Hardy, who's been arrested twice within the past year in real life and has a past criminal history as well. So we've seen these angles. They've done them in the past in WWE with Hawk. We all know that didn't end too well for Hawk in his personal life. And then, of course, in WCW, they did it with Scott Hall angles based on the real life issues. And it's always kind of in bad taste. 0.55 rating might be up a little bit, but they did have the Performance Center trainees in the crowd. So I'm sure having people in the building for the show also probably helped with the rating a bit there on Fox. 0.55 is still a long way off from the one I guess they were supposed to average on Fox, but at least it didn't go lower this week. In UFC news, according to Forbes, Conor McGregor made $48 million over the past year, and that's only fighting once, and he won that fight in like a first round TKO. So I guess he got about $32 million in endorsements and fight purses, as well as $5 million from Reebok alone. So the total is $48 million with all of his revenue sources combined, making him one of the top paid athletes of the past year. Even though $48 million is a lot of money, in 2018, he was number 4, according to Forbes, number 4 highest paid athlete, making $99 million thanks to his boxing fight against Floyd Mayweather. And I have read reports where they say Conor McGregor is likely going to box again. Dana White has stated that UFC will miss out on over $100 million in revenue this year by not having live gates due to the coronavirus pandemic. He is hesitant to have Conor McGregor fight on a show that doesn't have a live audience, since he is arguably the biggest star in the UFC right now as far as mainstream goes. Another big star in UFC is Daniel Cormier, who says he's going to retire after he fights Stipe Miocic later this year. According to the Wrestling Observer, Triple H had indicated he's interested in Cormier in a recent interview. There's not a lot of MMA guys that have crossed over to wrestling and been a success. I guess the most successful, you could say, was Ken Shamrock, and Ken Shamrock was a pro wrestler before he was an MMA fighter. So was Dan Severn, who I interviewed. Dan Severn, by the way, this week. That is up in full right now at patreon.com/thehannibaltv. Brock Lesnar was also a wrestler before he was a pro wrestler and before he was an MMA fighter. So I can't think really of an MMA fighter that has gone into wrestling and really done great. I guess Ronda Rousey made a lot of money, but she wasn't well received by the fans. But she's someone else at Triple H. I've heard him say he'd love to have her back, even though she's bashed wrestling. So they need stars. They haven't had a big star since John Cena that's been big in the mainstream. So I guess they'll throw anything against the wall. They're making lots of money in TV revenue, still hundreds of millions of dollars. So they have the money to throw around. DBag0584 says, is Hardy out of jail? I guess according to the Angle, they posted something saying that he is out of jail. So bizarre Angle. I'm not interested in it. The only reason I'm reporting on it is because that's the only interesting thing that really came out of SmackDown. So if I guess Bruce Pritchard is the head writer of SmackDown, if he wanted to get people talking about SmackDown, even though that Angle's in bad taste, that's what people are talking about today out of SmackDown. Gabrielle Dean says hi from the eastern shores of Maryland. I know he's one of our big supporters. Hello to you. I've never actually been to Maryland. That's one of the states I've never been through. Aussie Nate said WWE would get better ratings if they just replayed the 90s Raws. They probably would to an extent, but I think part of the TV contracts is they need new footage, and a good chunk of that footage has to be live. So unfortunately, that wouldn't work. Alan Sidorm says WWE is in trouble, mates. As far as mainstream interest, yes, an interest of wrestling fans who like wrestling, the traditional wrestling, even the wrestling that WWE did in like the 85 through the 90s. Now it's a lot more strictly entertainment than wrestling. Black Bart says, what do I think happened between Pat Patterson and a young Roddy Piper? I don't know. The only dealing I had with Pat Patterson, I've met him numerous times at WWE extra jobs I've done, and most recently at the Cauliflower Alley Club a few years ago. But my most memorable time with Pat Patterson was at the WWE tryout camp I was signed from. I had a match. There was an incident that happened in my match. I remember right after that match, it was right before the lunch break. Pat Patterson took me outside during the lunch break, talked to me, and I knew right in that instance right there that they were probably going to offer me a contract just because of the personal attention he was giving me. In that talk, it was just business. And he told me that they were going to give me another match for him to watch after lunch, and he gave me the finish to that match. Then I went out there, did the match, did the finish he gave, and then he talked to me again after that. He said, great job, hope they hire you. So that was my main talk I ever had with Pat Patterson. Then I saw him a few years ago at the Cauliflower Alley, and he said no to doing a short interview with me. So that's really the only two interactions I have with him other than shaking hands. In the 2000s, I don't think there's been anything controversial about him other than whatever pool he uses to get Sylvain Grenier to continuously have jobs with WWE. I know they have some type of relationship. I don't know what the whole extent of their relationship is. Sylvain's never talked to me about it, and I never asked Pat Patterson about it. I only know the rumors, and as for all the stuff that supposedly happened in the 80s and the 90s, I only know what people have told me in these interviews. I've reported on both positive and negative stories on Pat Patterson. So there you go. There's my views on him. Al Hitchin, are people in Canada protesting like they are in the United States? Not to my knowledge, no. They're not protesting the lockdown nor the thing that happened with the police officer. I don't understand the benefit of destroying businesses, burning stuff down, causing people to get hurt, both on the police side and the protester side. I don't understand that personally. Bad situation all around, bad situation. Obviously, there is going to be justice there towards the police officer that did that and the other police officers that are involved. There's no question about that. I feel bad for the people that have businesses and don't have insurance and have had their businesses destroyed, and any innocent bystanders that may have been hurt by these riots. Anthony Shabbat, how am I doing? I'm doing good. As I did a report earlier, I got my cancer spot sliced off today and they cauterized it. I couldn't remember the word. So that's over with. Worked out before. I'm not going to work out tonight, but I'll be back running again tomorrow. Today I was smashing my tire, flipping my tire. Dan Hodgkinson is asking if it's true Robert Gibson was a legit tough guy. I've never personally heard any stories about Robert Gibson being in a legitimate fight. It is possible. I am supposed to interview Ricky Morton one of these days soon. I'll ask him about it. Someone whose name I can't pronounce, Kiwi Isles something. Dana White announced the Ultimate Fighter will be returning soon. Do I think Daniel Puder would have won the Ultimate Fighter season? I don't know. I really have never watched, to be honest with you, a Daniel Puder fight. I know he was 8-0, so he did wrestle, or he did fight in Strikeforce and some of the bigger MMA leagues where you don't really have control of your opponents, but either way, anyone has a puncher's chance. So 8-0 is pretty damn good in MMA. But to say how he would have done, I have no idea. Can I see Vince selling WWE in the next 5 years? Anything's possible. Anything can happen with the WWE, as they like to say. Peter Birdsell says, eat massive doses of edibles. It's anti-cancer, kills fungus. Fact. No comment on that. But that is legal in Canada, and it's fine to do. And I am not a smoker, so anytime I've consumed that stuff, it's usually the drops these days because edibles still have calories in them. As we mentioned, I do have a second YouTube channel. I am posting custom content on there now. If you search up Devon Nicholson, there is going to be some custom content on that channel. I hadn't posted on it in a few years, but I've started to repost on it again. Yeah, I'm getting all your comments about eating and not smoking. I was only pointing out that when I have anything like that, it is via ingestion because I don't want to ever harm my lungs. Dan Hodgkinson, how do I think they'll book Riddle on Smackdown? I have no idea. It's another small guy. He does have a good character, but I don't really care, honestly, how they book Matt Riddle on SmackDown. Hopefully good. Hopefully, I want them to do better. I want them to get better ratings. Hopefully, they'll start booking it better. I know they fired a SmackDown writer yesterday, something to Joseph, I believe. I forget the name. They should fire all the non-wrestling writers, to be honest. It was better when they didn't have Hollywood writers writing it. Alan Sidorm says, bring Conor McGregor to WWE and it would get good storylines. Let Conor come up with his own storylines. He's pretty damn good at creating interest in fights. I could see WWE writers coming up with dumb storylines for him to do. Because right now, MMA definitely overall, they're better at building storylines than wrestling. I'll answer a couple more questions as I drink my greens up here. Bobby Lincoln, will Raw and SmackDown get better? I haven't watched it in years. From the pieces that I've watched on Twitter and YouTube, we are at the Hannibal TV on Twitter, by the way. and Instagram. It has not gotten any better, and it's in fact got worse. Gerald Parker, I thought the SmackDown. Gerald Parker says, I thought the SmackDown angle with Hardy was in bad taste due to the riots and protests this week. Was it taped in advance? Yes. From what I understand, it was taped in advance, but I wasn't there. But from what I understand, it was. But was it in bad taste for numerous reasons? Yes. Michael B says, I'm not sure WWE is capable of writing good storylines these days. Zaire WSTSDDD numbers was Todd Gordon the owner of ECW? At one point he was, yes. But at one point Paul bought all of the interest in it. There is a short interview with me and Todd Gordon that we recorded last November up on this channel if you search Todd Gordon, the Hannibal TV. And he likes me. I'm sure I would have fit in well as a wrestler in ECW, to be honest. Alan Sidorm, GSP and WWE, what do I think? He doesn't really have the personality for it. That's what I think. He's a gentleman, so I say that as a compliment. He also loves fighting. He says I think he would still come back if the right fight offer came to him in the next few years. He's not over the hill yet, and he does love it. He's passionate about it. Burnt Popcorn Productions says, bring back Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara. It would be interesting. I mean, Vince Russo was writing when WWE got that 8.2 or 8.3 rating, and when TNA got that 1.3 rating, which WWE would kill for those type of ratings. Now, it would be interesting to have Vince Russo back in the mix. I would give it a shot. I would give it a shot for 3 to 6 months anyways. You got nothing to lose. Dan Hodgkinson says GSP still has a lot to offer, but he's too honest and doesn't play politics. As a trainer, I don't know how much training he does. I've seen him when I used to wrestle at the Montreal Wrestling Club, and he was mostly just there for sparring. So I would imagine if he still is training, which he probably still is, it's more for his personal growth, but you never know. Vincent says, seeing I went to the doctors unless I was older. Yes, I did. I got it taken care of, as I already said. The other question, this will be my last question. Oh, and Vincent says, great news. Thank you, my man. Have any NHL players ever wrestled? Come to think of it, I have never heard of any NHL players actually making it in wrestling or even on a lower level. Hockey's popular here, and I would say overall hockey fans are not wrestling fans. I have a lot of friends that are hockey fans and hockey players. They'll watch UFC, but I haven't seen them really be interested in wrestling. I know at the lower levels of MMA around here, there has been some former NHL players that have fought MMA, but never to any huge success. There's a bunch of other questions, but I'm not really understanding what you mean. Radiance go to Pac-Man Jones did. Was Pac-Man Jones a hockey player? I remember Pac-Man Jones from TNA. I think he was a football player. But I don't even really remember it other than the name because I don't really follow football that closely. So, yeah, we'll call it a night at that. Thanks again. Have a great weekend. I'll probably do another Q&A after the news tomorrow. So have a good Saturday. Most places are still on lockdown. I know here in Canada, there's absolutely nothing to do. I'm going to just work on my Lex Luger compilation video. I did post a Rock compilation video today that I'd suggest you guys check out. His father and mother and uncle are all in the compilation video, as well as Haku and many others. Vince Russo, too.